Okay, so we're gonna start with like introducing integers and then adding, subtracting, um, and then later on it's gonna be multiplication and division of integers. The first thing that we want to talk about is what is an integer and what would be examples of integers and what are not examples of integers. So if I'm talking about integers, did you guys look up the definition for it yesterday? Right? What was it?
I got a number that can be written without a fractional component.
A fraction, component, or decimal, right? It could be either a positive or a negative. So basically, an integer is a whole number, okay? So it's something that is countable, that you can count, but it could be also a negative, right? So a 1, 2, 3, minus 1, minus 2, or negative 1, negative 2 also includes the number 0, okay? So, so an integer basically whole number, right? No decimal, no fractions, and then it can be either a positive integer. So there are the numbers that are above the number 0, and you have the negative integer, which is the one that falls behind the 0, okay, below the 0. So is negative 33.5 an integer? No, because it has a decimal, right? It's not a whole number. So other than in math, where do you see negative numbers? They don't have to be integers. In general, where do you see negative numbers? Temperatures, right? We're used to it right now in this weather. Transaction, that's right. In money, right? In money, right? Stock market, right? Transaction here. Where else? Can't think of any. Like sometimes when you're looking at like levels, right? If you're looking at buildings and you're going below ground, right? -1, -2, they usually go like L1 or L2 or whatever. But it is like I always think, and I always tell my students, like think about negative numbers as you're going below ground. Okay, so the first floor below ground, second floor below ground, and so on and so forth, right? So, when you're looking at the number line, right? So in the number line, you're gonna have to get used to the numbered line because later on we're gonna do X and Y axis, and then the X and Y axis, they're basically the vertical and the horizontal line, okay? So with the number line, you have the 0, that's in the middle. Positive numbers go to the right of the 0. Negative number goes to the left of the 0. Okay? And as you can see, the negative numbers, they go as -1, -2, -3, so on and so forth. Okay? Which means, if you look at -1 and let's say -5, which one is bigger, -1 or -5? -1 is a bigger number. Okay? Because it's higher on the number line. Okay? So a positive number starts on the right side of the 0 and get bigger as you move to the right. So as you can see, 0, and then as I move to the right, my numbers are getting bigger. And then the negative numbers start on the left side of the 0 and get smaller as you move left. They get smaller, but technically their value, like the number itself, like 1, 2, 3, they get bigger, but because it's the negative number, then we call it a smaller number. Okay? So you always have to think as, for example, -8 is a smaller number than -1 because it's more to the left of the 0. Okay? But 8 in this case is greater than 5. Are you guys okay with this, with the ranking of the numbers? So rank these numbers from the smallest to the largest. So what's my smallest number? Smallest number? So I have negative 5, 10, 1, negative 7, 0, negative 8, 21, negative 18. Negative 18 is the smallest one, right? Then negative 8. Then negative 5. I have no more negative numbers, right? So then it goes to which one? 0, 1, 10, and 21. Okay, are we okay with this? All right. I know that a lot of times we're going to use the calculator for this, but it's also a good idea to know, to have your number sense and to understand when you're adding integers or when you're subtracting or when later on multiplying and dividing. You need to understand if your answer makes sense or not, right? So if you add two positive integers, the answer is a bigger integer. Makes sense, right? We've learned this since we were kids, right? If I have 3 plus 5, then I'm going to get 8, right? It's a bigger number because I'm adding two positive numbers. Yes? If I'm adding 12 plus 7, I am going to get 19. We're okay with that. Now, when we start introducing negative integer, this is where the trick is. Okay? Now, I'm adding two negative integers. Still think about it as you're adding the numbers, okay, because they're both negative. You're still adding the actual numbers, but your answer is going to be a negative number. So the way that you're going to think about it, you're, for example, for this one, you're 3 below ground, and you're going down 5 more. Where are you going to end up? You're going down at negative 8. Right? Because you're already 3 below ground, and then you're going down 5 more. So if you look at the negative, if you look at the number line, right? You are right here, and then you're going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So you're still adding your numbers, but your sign is going to stay negative. Okay? So you're still adding the 3 and the 5, but then your sign is going to be a negative 8. Make sense? How about, why did I skip? Okay. How about if I have negative 4 plus negative 7? So you're 4 below ground, and then you're going 7 more down. So remember, you add the 4 and the 7, right? Like regular, 4 and 7, that's 11. But because they're both negative, then my answer is going to be negative 11. Okay? I always think about it too as like you owe me $4 and now you owe me another 7. Now you owe me $11, right? So always think about negative as owing or below ground, right? Make sense? So as you can see, like this one, negative 3 plus negative 5 is the same as the one that we're going to do next. But I'm going to teach you a way because later, like, we don't like to have that many signs right next to each other or after each other, right? We want to simplify our math, and there is a way to do so, okay? So whenever you have two signs, a plus and a minus, right after each other or right beside each other, we can simplify this. So instead of a plus and a minus, that becomes a negative, okay? So that becomes negative 3 minus 5. Because plus times a negative, so when I have these two right after each other, that's the same thing as writing just negative 5. Okay? So I will give you a sheet that looks like this, right? And then you see that when I have a positive and a negative right after each other, that's the same thing as just writing the negative. Okay? So negative 3 take away 5. That's going to give me the same answer as I got earlier, which is negative 8. Okay? Because you're at negative 3, and now you went backward 5. How can I write the next one? Yeah, so negative 6 minus 12. Again, I have a positive and negative right after each other. So instead of having that positive and then the bracket and the negative, I can simplify it to just a minus 12. Okay? And then I'm 6 below ground, and then I'm going down another 12. So that's going to take me to negative 18. Okay? Again, I'm adding my integers, the 12 and the 6, but I'm keeping the negative. Now, when two minus are right after each other, it's like a positive. So here's the example. I'm going to give you an English example here, okay? I gave you that. So if I say to you, I am not coming to school tomorrow, what does that mean? That means I'm coming, right? So I use two negative to make a positive. So when I'm telling you that, I'm taking away a negative 5. That means I'm adding a 5, right? When I have two negative right after each other, now the trick is I said I'm not. So not right after each other, okay? So because I'm not here, that means I am, right? So instead of using a negative and a negative right after each other, I can change that to a positive. So, and then that gives me basically 3 plus 5 is 8. Okay? Now remember that I can only make this happen if I have two negatives right after each other. Okay? So, how will I write the next one? Negative 9 plus 3. Yeah? Because I have two negatives right here after each other. So that's negative 9 plus 3. Now, if you look at this, you're at negative 9 and you're adding 3. So where would you end up? Negative 6. I'm going to show you, okay? So right? So you're at -9, and then because you're adding, that means you're moving to the right. Okay? It's like you're at 9 below ground, but you're going up 3 levels. Okay? I'm adding 3. So I'm adding 1, 2, 3, right? So that makes me at -6. Okay? Is that good? All right. So this is where the trick is, right? Adding moves you to the right on the number line, and subtracting moves you to the left on the number line. Okay? I did provide you with a number line behind, just in case you need to use it, but you will get used to it as you do more of this type of math. Okay? These are called operation with integers. Yes, thank you. So make sure that you do like some of these questions. There's few worksheets, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So before we do that, do you want to do one more lesson and then you can do the worksheets?
Yes.
Okay. Just stop this for a second.